Hello and welcome to Data Conversations over Coffee with myself, Craig Stewart. Today is the second part of a two-part series that we're doing with a sponsor, Oracle. And joining me is one of their clients, Mbongeni Shandu, who is the Chief Information Officer at the University of KwaZulu-Natal, better known as the UKZN. Mbongeni, thank you so much for joining me. How are you?
I'm good, Craig. Yourself?
Yeah, I'm very well, thank you. So good to have you on the show.
It is a pleasure to me to be hosted by you, Craig.
Good stuff. All right, so I think the first thing I wanted to dig into is that, and funny enough, my previous guest was also from a university based in Canada. So it seems to me that there's the sort of growth in the use of data analytics at universities. And I think most people generally associate the university with the training of data scientists, computer scientists, mathematicians, statisticians. They don't really think about the use of data analytics, to run the university more efficiently, sort of better for students, etc. So maybe you can just give us a little bit of sort of the background into the history of data analytics at the university, and then we can kind of have a look where you are now and then sort of start to have a look into the future as to what's on your roadmap. So maybe start by telling everybody listening sort of what the history of data analytics was at the university.
Thank you so much, Craig. In terms of the history, we don't have so much on the subject of advanced analytics and AI, but it is because it is pretty much of a new journey for us as an institution that we are currently embarking on. But we'll be very much excited to share with you where we currently are and the future that you are pursuing as UKZN. So our journey has been given momentum by the fact that we have recently reviewed our academic performance management policy. What is key with the revised policy is how we have extended the elements that contributes to the students' overall chances of success, which goes just beyond academic elements such as assessment scores and attendance. So the policy goes beyond to bring in other aspects of a student life within the institution, where it begins where we view a student as a prospective student applying for admission. That is important because we have discovered that some of the elements of minimizing the chances for success is that students are picking up the academic programs that won't really suit their strengths, general strengths and capabilities when it comes to academics. It also looks at the social and psychological aspects for a student, as well as other environment factors that might affect the student journey or the student performance. So with the policy in place, our immediate action is to implement the policy, where obviously technology in a form of analytics and advanced analytics plays a huge role. So just to share with you the key elements of our policy, Craig, the policy elements, the first one is about planning, which is about setting the performance targets for our students or our throughput. So definitely that's a key element in our policy because I'm sure you'll agree with me, success doesn't come by chance, by any chance, but through proper planning. So historic data as a baseline for our targets is very critical at that phase. And then the other aspect of our policy talks about organizing. Organizing, that is where we deal with the issues of how efficiently can we allocate our resources that are in achieving our student performance targets. And the key one as well, but which is not a subject for discussion today, is about execution, which talks on how do we execute our teaching and learning programs. There's a lot that you are doing in that space as ICT of UKZN that talks to putting in our academic content in an online platforms. As you understand, there is a lot that COVID pandemic has enforced or in fact imposed on how we do things. So we have to look at that. But that's a discussion for another day. There's a lot that we can say around that. But what is key, which is the last element of the policy, it talks about monitoring and control. So I'm sure you'll agree with me again to say, you cannot monitor what you cannot control. I mean, you cannot monitor and control what you don't know. So that is where the subject of analytics plays a huge role. So we are currently developing and designing our academic performance management platform to ensure that it goes beyond just reporting capability, but it also covers the predictive analysis, which is key for the success of this platform. So this is where we are in terms of a brief history, in terms of the advancement as UKZN around the area of implementing advanced analytics and the artificial intelligence. So the driving force is the revised academic performance management policy.
All right, so it seems to me, and this is one of the things when we talk about a data strategy with corporates, there's often this sort of misconception that a data strategy should be separate, the data analytics strategy should be separate to the corporate strategy. But it seems to me at the UKZN, the data analytics strategy is really at the heart of the corporate or the university strategy. It's there to enable it. They're not two separate things. Is that correct?
That's very correct. You've said it very well. Yes, the platforms and the technology has already been there, but what has stimulated the demand for the technology and platform is our business needs. So having this key strategy as key policy from the institution, which is meant to support the strategy of an institution, that has necessitated or brought an added demand on implementing the technology that is always been there.
Okay, and who is driving that? I mean, is that really from sort of the chancellor's desk, people higher up on the board, etc., that said we need to have data analytics as part of our future strategy to improve student outcomes, student experience, etc.? Or was it sort of your ICT team that went up to them to say this is something that you need if you're going to be able to achieve this?
Yeah, obviously from the Vice Chancellor's point of view, the question that you will ask, he will say, we've got these targets as an institution. Mind you, we're an institution of higher education, and our success is measured on the throughput, on the quality of students that we get out there into the industry. So his question would be, how can we improve our chances of success in that aspect? And then as a CIO, as ICT, is to look into the industry and see what are the tools and platforms that are available to support the objectives of the institution. So the questions that are asked at different levels, they differ. We might talk about technology, but from a strategic point of view, the discussion is initiated by the business objectives of the institution. Obviously, as we have a mandate to make sure that we support our mandate as an institution by making sure that we fully utilize or we tap into the industry and see what technologies are out there to support the institution. So our general approach, Craig, when it comes to the adoption of technology as an institution, we don't just buy technology. What we do, we go to the industry, we buy solutions. So it's not about buying technology without having a business value that you want to derive out of the technology. So this is how we are doing business. We always try as ICT to ensure that we strategically position ourselves as enablers of business. Obviously, teaching and learning is the core element of our business.
Okay, great. Thanks for that. So I wanted to move on a little bit and maybe dive a little bit deeper into maybe one or two example use cases that you've got of the use of advanced analytics and AI at the university. And obviously, you're quite early on in your journey, but what are some of the maybe the two biggest areas that you're focused on at the moment, and how have you used analytics and AI to improve those areas?
Yeah, the policy itself touches on teaching and learning, which is our core business of the institution. So obviously, as I've shared, we are pretty new in the journey. So there is nothing much around, in fact, based on history, the achievement that we have done. Yes, we have slowly, we have in the past used a little bit of analytics, but to be honest with you, it hasn't been to the extent that we are pushing this time around to ensure that we fully support institutions' core mandate, which is around teaching and learning. So going forward, our hope for the future is informed by our confidence that the quality of input into the academic performance management policy is informed by international case studies and references within the sector of higher education. And those have proved to bring a success. So if that turns out to be the case, I am also confident that as an institution, the application of the policy through technology will also bring in the desired results within UKZN.
Okay, so you're really early on. You don't really have sort of any sort of use case that says you've applied the analytics, you've recruited the right type of students. So it all happened this year, I assume. So you're still kind of in that intake for next year. Are you now focused using the advanced analytics and the AI to sort of assess the types of candidates and students that you want for the 2021 academic year?
Yes, definitely. In fact, the policy, the one that has been revised, I mean, the one that has been replaced by the revised policy was mainly focused on the academic performances of the students. So it was looking at the academic elements, which is like your academic assessments as well as attendance. But this one has gone beyond that. So there has been an application of analytics in that area, but with the main focus was around those two main components or elements in the students, in ensuring that we maximize the student success. But based on the studies within or observation within the institution and what we have studied, what is happening in other institutions across the world, is that the student success doesn't really hinges around their academic performance once they are within the institution, but there are other elements. It is your social elements, your environment that the students find themselves in. So to improve, so those needs to be looked at to ensure that we improve their chances of success. So yeah, it is a new journey, but it is an exciting one.
No, it sounds amazing. And I guess what you're saying there is that you're looking at all the factors, not just that somebody is good academically or they're studious, they're diligent, but all the factors on campus, outside of campus, I assume as well, collecting data on all those elements to understand whether or not that student can be successful. And does it go then into, if you can understand the areas that they might be struggling with, you can actually help them improve their outcomes. So you're collecting all this data from different areas to analyze effectively one student at a time.
Definitely, yes. It goes beyond just academic analyzing academic information. So we are trying to bring in all relevant information that will assist in our journey as an institution to maximize the chances of a student success. As I've indicated earlier on, the choice of academic programs as well plays a huge role. So that starts even before a student is admitted within an institution. So we are trying to bring that all in to make sure that it talks to the student. And what is also key to this is that we are not looking at a tool that look at analytics, but we wanted to go to at a personal level, look at the individual students and proactively highlight the areas for improvement, as well as indicate what are the interventions that can be introduced to make sure that we correct any deviations.
Okay. And do you foresee these dashboards, sort of just thinking ahead around this, these dashboards of student performance, kind of down to an individual student, is that something that is shared with the student as much as it is shared with the academic staff, so that they have a very sort of clear idea of where they are on their journey, how successful they are, some of the things that perhaps they can change to be more successful? Do they have access, or will you give them access to that sort of dashboard?
Yeah, I think you've touched on a very important point. Both students and academics, they are key role players in the process. So when it comes to sharing information or producing those dashboards and highlighting interventions, so it's going to be two-way. There will be information that will be going to academics, but there will be information that directly goes to a student for them to be able to, because in terms of interventions, it's not only academic. It might mean a student changing, a student himself being aware of their behavior within campus. Let's take for an example, one of the elements, it's attendance of classes. If there is a deviation that is being pulled out from the platform, obviously that notification will be sent to students to say, just be careful, or send an alert to say, this is an area that you need to improve on. So it's going to be a proactive, information will be proactively sent through to both participants in the process, which is the academics as well as students.
Oh, that's brilliant. I mean, I know some of the things that probably hampered my academic performance when I was at university, but that's probably a story for another day. But it would have been great to have had a dashboard to kind of understand, what were some of the factors that maybe could have improved my results at university. And I'm pretty happy with what I achieved, but we all know that they probably could have been a bit better with it.
I also share the same sentiment. I wish these were available back in my times. There are a lot of mistakes I wouldn't have done at that time.
Yeah.
So it is an exciting journey.
Absolutely. And yeah, I mean, I guess, students coming in 2021, having grown up in a digital age, are going to be almost expecting something like that, and will be able to really get involved with it a lot more than maybe we would have back in the day. So I think you've kind of hit the generation at the right time.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Well, Mbongeni, maybe let's talk about, I mean, you're quite early on in the journey, and I would assume, like, banks, retailers, etc., you've got a few challenges that you can kind of foresee with regards to your data analytics. What are some of those sort of key, maybe 2 or 3 biggest challenges that you're facing at the moment, and how are you overcoming them if you're at that stage already?
Yeah, obviously there are areas that we have already highlighted that will pose some challenges. One of those is process automation. Mind you, the quality of this platform, which is the data analytics platform, is informed by having data sources. So if we have to take into consideration that some of the processes or data might be lying on paper, it's not fully automated. So that poses a huge challenge. So if that information is key into giving input into the platform, so those are the areas. So we have already identified, and we are continuing to do so, identifying areas where we might speed up the process of automation in those areas to ensure that every information that we need for the tool to be able to give us a quality output and do predictive analysis is already automated. So that's a huge challenge that we have discovered. But we have comfort in accepting that the development of the solution itself is a progressive exercise. So there is data that is currently available, that is automated, that we can start working on, while we are automating other areas of business that are not yet fully automated. So that's an area, so we are aware of it. So those risks that are associated, some of them, we have just accepted them, and we said we are going to work with whatever data that is available to us. The second area of challenge is around data quality. So there is an old saying in computers that says garbage in, garbage out. So which means if the quality of data, the accuracy and reliability of data is not there, obviously whatever that the output will be from the solution, it's not going to be of good quality. So there is another parallel process on the side to look at data, cleaning up data, making sure that it's accurate and it's of good quality. Another aspect of it is data integration. As an institution, we've got multiple sources of input. And we've got legacy system, multiple legacy systems. Some of them, they are operating independently of each other, and they are not integrated. So the challenge is, how do we integrate this data? And while doing that as well, how do we address the issues of data duplication, where you find a data that is not talking to each other, data are sitting in different sources, databases and sources. So we are also working on that, but that's an area that you have already highlighted that we still have a lot to work on. Another one is data security. So you have to ensure that the data that is so valuable in this exercise, it is protected. There is also a Protection of Personal Information Act that is in place within the country, and we have been given, in fact, all the government, the entities within South Africa, they've been given a mandate that by next year they should fully be compliant with the act into ensuring that the personal information, it is protected. So that's another one that we are pursuing on the side. So those are the four key main areas that we have identified as dependencies in our access, that we have identified as key success, critical success factors in this exercise.
Yeah, and then again, I think that really matches up with probably the most common challenges that any organization faces when they're on a data analytics journey is really sort of, understanding where their data is, firstly, because those data sources can be multiple and they can be in silos, etc. And data quality is one of the bigger sort of challenges that every company faces at the moment, is just having access to large volumes of high quality data. Now, a lot of that is quite a technical sort of part of the whole puzzle. So let's talk a little bit about how Oracle has been a key player in UKZN's journey in terms of the platforms that you're using, sort of your future plans around AI, analytics, etc. How has Oracle been a real key business partner to you?
Oracle is and has been our key strategic partner in our journey. So our ERP system, which hosts most of the data, runs on Oracle platform. So there's obviously an expectation from our side that Oracle will continue to provide us with the thought leadership in terms of technology, and that they will continue to provide us with solutions that are relevant and have supporting features to help us in our journey. So the initiatives around protection of data, we have already went on a journey with them. In fact, brought them in as expertise in that area, just to ensure that our data is protected. So we have ran a project where we did a security assessment of our data to see if there are any loopholes in that area. So there are various recommendations that we are attending to ensure that we can fully be confident that our data is protected as we are embarking on this journey. Because it wouldn't help running this journey only to find that our data is exposed in terms of being manipulated by outsiders or having access to by the people who are not supposed to be having that particular access. But that's from a technology view. But there is still a lot as well that we have to do around the policies and procedures that we need to support our objectives, ensuring that the data is protected and secured.
Okay, great. And I think Oracle is a fantastic partner. We do a lot of work with them, and obviously there's a lot of great clients out there that have benefited from their cloud technology, obviously the security side, etc. And Mbongeni, thank you so much for joining me. It's been really good. Maybe you can just share quickly before I let you go. What are some of the 2 or 3 key tips you would give to someone from an organization that is just starting out on an analytics journey?
Yeah, every journey has got a starting point. You might think probably the tools and platforms have been there on the market, but you should get comfort in terms of the reason why you have not been fully utilizing those. Probably there hasn't been any business drive to say you need those tools. So there is always a starting place. Yes, there are a lot of dependencies that, as I've shared with you, things around the process automation, the data quality, the data integration. So it doesn't stop you from initiating the process. Use whatever that you have and start to build from there. Mind you, as I've already shared with you, to say this journey is a progressive exercise. So there is it will continuously change as you bring in key data elements that are going to assist you in making informed and proactive business decisions. So you start somewhere and be progressively move towards a fully automated solution. But I doubt if they will ever have a fully automated, fully capable solution, as the business requirements are changing all the time. And the way we do business changes all the time. What would work with you today, you might find that tomorrow you've got different needs and business challenges that you have to address. So start from somewhere and be confident that you are moving towards a certain journey or a certain desired future that you have already set for yourself.
Right, that's great. Great advice for everybody watching. Everyone, take note of that. Obviously, once we've published the podcast, we'll have some of those tips down in the article associated with this podcast as well. And Mbongeni, what is tradition on the show is that I always ask my guests about their relationship with coffee or tea or whatever it is that they like to drink through the course of the day. Maybe you could share with everybody watching what is your sort of preference.
Tea or coffee?
Yeah.
Lemon water is my best tea.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Nice and healthy.
Yeah.
Good stuff. All right. Well, there you have it, folks. As you can see, that regardless of the industry that you're in, I say this time and time again, very, very similar issues, regardless of if you're in the academic environment or if you're in a retail environment, a banking environment, a mining environment. Very often it comes down to those sort of key challenges and making sure that, you know, the data strategy is part of the corporate strategy. And I think I can't stress that enough. And I think there have been companies that have got that wrong that I've seen. They kind of seem to be separate things, but it must underpin and enable the corporate strategy or the academic strategy like Mbongeni has shared with us. Mbongeni, keep well. Thank you so much for joining us.